always talked about that we have to change roles in FM. And it deals with the FMs and the FM experts. And as we roll through this, I think you'll move rather quickly, and hopefully you all will get some thoughts in your heads, and at the Q&A time, we'll have some questions. So please, as I go through this, if you have any questions, put it in the chat, and we will get to them, because this presentation probably will go less than an hour. So if we get to the Q&A and we don't have any questions, I have some additional material that you're going to really be fascinated with. So FM in the age of AI and automation. My major observations: the professionals have to become a part of the C-suite. And believe it or not, you know, I really didn't know who was in the C-suite until I looked it up. These are people whose expertise does not lie in any technical field. These people normally are only interested in money, in value, in how the value is increased or how their operational capabilities increase. They're not really concerned with anything that's technical. And then we have the FM associates, which, because I've been around for so long, I mean, over the last 25 years, I used to think that the attitude of IFMA was that the professionals were on a higher level, and then we have the associates on a lower level. But we're beginning to see a transition, and every time I hit a chapter, I ask this question: do we find more and more that the associates are stepping up into leadership positions? And in most chapters, that is true. And so the FM associates really are the technical experts. I believe IFMA and the IFMA professionals are going to have to make a transition where the professionals become more high level, identify expertise and utilize expertise, and the associates need to become the experts. So what's the future for the FM professionals? It deals with how the FM professional communicates. It deals with the concept of what he must say so that the C-suite can understand what he's saying or she's saying without having to think about it. And this concept is foreign to most people. And it goes back to my famous water bottle drop. If I'm going to release this water bottle and run 100 tests, releasing it every time, quote, the perceptive person will know before I even release it that it's going to fall. That is an expert, because they understand the simple law of gravity. Well, if I'm going to release that bottle now, and the expert can actually know before I release it what's going to happen, they can actually see into the future. Now, this is the trick. When you can see into the future, do you think more or think less? Do you make more decisions or fewer decisions of what's going to happen when I release this? And the answer is, we're going to think less. We're going to make fewer decisions because we can actually see into the future. This is one of the most important characteristics of experts. And if we're experts as professionals and we're talking to the C-suite, the question is, when we communicate to the C-suite, do we want to make them think more or think less? If they have to think more and make more decisions, are we, the FM professionals, going to have more respect or less respect? Are we going to get our message through easier, or are we going to have to sit there and watch them think about, well, what's going to happen because it's not translated simple enough? The whole idea here now is the people at the top do not want to think or make decisions. It has to be made simple. If it's simple, is the FM professional going to be in the future more technical or less technical? If they're more technical, is the C-suite going to see into the future and just understand what's happening, or are they going to start thinking more and making decisions as they traditionally do? The future of the FM professional is to say things in a way that's simple, that does not make anybody think. In order to do this, they have to change their paradigm of how they speak. Less technical, more simple, which means they have to get out of the technical talking because the C-suite doesn't understand it. That is the biggest, quote, paradigm shift that has to go on in the FM community. Is the professionals have to learn how to speak and communicate simply so the C-suite understands the FM professional. And the FM professional now, if they see things simply, identify and utilize expertise, they will actually gain more responsibility and less work because they're identifying and utilizing expertise. This is the whole, quote, future of FM. In order to do this, we need to have numbers that communicate this. And it's what I call the language of metrics. For example, if I go to the C-suite and say, I'm holding 1 bottle of water and the cost savings on it is 30%. No one has to think about this. But if I pose it as, this is a specific type of new bottle that's transparent, immediately, half the C-suite is going to look at it and say, I don't think it's transparent. What are you talking about? And they start thinking. And they're going to say, I don't know about that. And they're going to start making decisions. Dominant metrics stop people from thinking, stop people from making decisions. And that is how the FM professional will actually increase their responsibility and lessen their work because they're identifying and utilizing expertise. And the FM associates have to be real technical experts. They have to communicate their expertise in ways that minimizes the need for anybody else to think about this, even the FM professional. Because if the FM professional has to think about what they're doing, inspect their work, and direct them, they can't be doing their job of getting into the C-suite. So everything has to be totally transparent. And transparent means simple. It's so everybody understands what's happening. Nobody wants to know all the technical specifications. In fact, if we continue to tell everyone that the pandemic has brought all these new requirements and you have to do this, and this, then they're going to have a higher level of fear. They're going to be thinking more. They're going to say, well, what's going on? Do I have protection? No, the expert has to know everything. The expert has to lower the fear level of everyone. The expert has to keep dominant metrics. For example, in our facility, only 1 out of 100 people has caught COVID, and that person recovered in 6 days. But we have the practices in place that minimizes the chance of ever getting COVID. That's simple. That's an expert. If the experts can communicate in this manner, which is simple, they allow the FM professional to become successful in communicating with the C-suite. They allow the FM professional to look like a visionary. This goes back to the same concept. If we have to tell somebody everything, are they more of an expert or less of an expert? But if all we have to say is, we have this problem, and the expert goes away and solves the problem and comes back to us and says, this is what it'll cost, this is what you have to be concerned about, and we're mitigating risk. The key is, no one can totally get rid of risk, but if the expert is doing their job, they're mitigating risk. So before the FM professional asks anything, or anybody in the facility asks anything, they know that the expert vendor is already doing everything to mitigate the risk and to minimize anybody being hampered or endangered by the risk. It allows the FM to be a true professional if the expert vendors learn how to communicate, minimizing the need to think and make decisions. So the description of the future. Well, the pandemic has brought the future to us. It's automation. In other words, whatever can be automated, whatever can, quote, make things simpler where a human doesn't have to do the previous actions that they used to do the traditional way. That's automation. What stops people from thinking and making decisions? It's when it's automated. Because when it's automated, they don't have to think or make decisions. It's that simple. That's the future. Now, why do people get really worried about this? Because they're worried about what is their place in this world of automation. In fact, they have just done a beautiful, quote, video out of PBS, where the people who are now automating systems and services are no longer looking solely at blue-collar jobs. They're looking at the white-collar jobs. They're looking at the people who use thinking, decision-making, processes that they've learned in education. And that's what they're going after, because that's easier to automate now than some of the humanistic things that blue-collar people do that are not as consistent as what white-collar people are supposed to be doing. So it's interesting. You know, we all wonder what we're going to do. But what we have to do is, whatever's not automated, we have to be really good at doing it. The automated systems will help us to know the metrics that make it simple. So these are the changes. There is no doubt in my mind for the FM professional to survive. They have to almost be looked at as an information worker professional who has more responsibility but less work. You can't do this unless you identify and utilize expertise. Everywhere you can, we must minimize cost. Everywhere we can, we must minimize the need for humans to think and make decisions. Therefore, as we move along into the future, which I believe is coming faster than we ever thought it would because of the pandemic, because of now using virtual platforms, because now people have found out that they can't watch their workers and correct them and manage and direct and control them because they never had any control over their workers. So if somebody doesn't produce who's working virtual, the question is what's going to happen to that person? That person may be out of a job. So that person now must look at their efficiency, at what value that they're, quote, offering their organization. But these are the changes. It's scary because it's change. It's going to be different. But I believe everyone will learn how to add more value. Everyone will learn how to think simpler. Everybody will stop making people think and make decisions. What are experts? Experts do three basic things. The first thing is they can tell the difference. They can tell the difference between the beginning of when their project started and the end of where their project started. They can tell you how it's going to change from the beginning to the end. And because they can do this and they can tell the difference, they can actually see into the future. They can see it before it happens. So in their mind, they're already observing exactly what the project is and what has to be done and what has to be communicated that makes this so simple that everybody can see, even though they don't have technical expertise. So believe it or not, one of the major requirements of an expert is the ability to make it simple. The ability to use metrics that people with no technical expertise can understand. The metrics have to be countable. I'm holding one bottle of water, and because it's countable, it's observable to all. If it's not observable and somebody can't see it, it doesn't matter if one person can count it. It has to be able to count it by everybody and observed by everybody. Just remember, if the number of metrics we communicate with goes up, how many of you think that thinking and decision making will go up? Put it on your chat box. If the number of metrics that we're communicating with goes up, the thinking and decision making should go up. Therefore, the numbers of metrics that we use should be minimal, just to communicate what's important to the people who we're working with, our peers. Once again, if somebody cannot identify the difference, cannot tell you the difference between my clicker and the water bottle, they're not an expert. If they can't see into the future by observation, they're not an expert. And the third requirement that is most important, if they can't make it simple, they are not an expert. I've had people argue with me, well, my people are really technical. My people are really good at what they do. But they don't qualify as experts unless they can make it simple. I'm sorry. If I ask a question, what makes you an expert? And ask a simple question about a problem I may be having at my facility. And that expert takes 10 minutes to give me an answer. I'm sorry. That person is not an expert. Experts will not make me think. They'll not make me make decisions. The amount of communication that they have with me will be minimal. That is what we call making things simple. And I'm going to give you some examples of this, where it's going on right around us, right? And people said, oh, no, that's not possible. No, it will be possible. In fact, we're seeing it all around us. So we have to utilize experts and their expertise. But on the other hand, if someone is an expert, they need to understand how to communicate like an expert. And so there is a little change that everybody has to look at and say, am I an expert if I'm an associate vendor?
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more content. If you have any questions about the best value approach, or for Dr. Dean, leave them in the comment section below and we'll get to them in a later video. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.